I want you to picture in your mind an ancient time when people wore tunics and lived at a slower pace of life. Before take was a state of mind, trees were considered sacred and nature was deified. The goddess Ceres, who was most loved and respected, deemed that trees be protected so no one would ever take their lives. The most obliged, one man chose to pay no mind to the law of the land and always kept a blade at his side. The name he went by was Erysippin. His fellow villagers warned him, but he never listened and kept swinging his axe as though it wasn't forbidden, dismissing the pleas of the people as mere superstition. They saw the sap that seeped as blood spilling as the sound of trunks splitting was relentless in its rhythm. To him, trees weren't equal to men and women. They were just the firewood he collected to make a living. He persisted like a thing possessed, man on a mission. But when his daughter played with him, it didn't make a difference. When Sarah sees what you've done, you'll never be forgiven. And despite her youth, she was developed in her wisdom, sure enough. When Sarah saw the scene of desolation, corpses of the trees that once stood proud and gently swaying, akin to peaceful monks in deep meditation, now reduced to stumps and logs from incineration. The sight of the slain was devastating. She went from mournful to vengeful with each exhalation. The woodcutter knew nothing of the fate that awaited, a hunger curse that couldn't be satiated. The legend of Ceres and Erysippin echoes from a past era to the present that we live in, reflecting a sickness inherent to our condition, where perpetual greed is the most prevalent of symptoms. The legend of Ceres and Erysippin echoes from a past era to the present that we live in, reflecting a sickness inherent to our condition, where perpetual greed is the most prevalent of symptoms. When Erysippin got home, the curse took effect, and the woodcutter gobbled any grub he could get. He didn't look up from the plate his daughter prepped, and before she could finish hers, he nabbed it instead. He got up and went straight to the kitchen next, to devour all the vegetables, fruit and bread. Once he'd emptied out the house, he duly left his daughter Amelia, feared he was losing his head. Erysippin stepped to the market with a sack. He then filled to the top and slung on his back. Food was even busting out his pockets, in fact, and as fast as he got it, it was gone in a flash. He wanted more, but the problem was the cash. He had to sell all his possessions to make it back. He made a whole banquet look like a snap with this damn hunger curse. He didn't know how to act. Without a penny to his name, not one thing. He thought his only option was to sell his offspring. His terrified offspring. The terrified godsling, his poor daughter, begged the gods to save her as she didn't deserve the torture. In the bid to restore some order, Lord Neptune transformed her to a fisherman so nobody bought her. Then Erysippin was forced to resort to the sort of act never before seen throughout the four corners. He took a tentative bite of his own forearm and felt the sweat. He felt his flesh impelled by his incisors, knowing that he'd had to would surely starve as the blood and sweat mixed with his own saliva. His daughter cried for help and nobody came, so she took to the streets in a bid to seek aid. But by the time he returned, it was too late. He'd already succumbed to his gruesome fate. Now Erysippin, symbolic of the human race, cursed with an urge to consume at all costs. And unless we see the error in our foolish ways, the feast won't cease till we're all gone. I said Erysippin, symbolic of the human race, cursed with an urge to consume at all costs. Unless we see the error in our foolish ways, then the feast won't cease till we're all gone. The legend of Ceres and Erysippin echoes from a past era to the present that we live in, reflecting a sickness inherent to our condition, where perpetual greed is the most prevalent of symptoms. We worship paper, not nature, as our religion, taking more than we ever intended to be giving, trying desperately to fill the emptiness within, but we're destined to eat ourselves, and so it's written.